Hello, welcome to another Blender tutorial. In this video we're going to use geometry nodes to recreate a tutorial I did a while back here on the channel using animation nodes, this one. So this sort of a laser 3D printer sci-fi effect. And in this tutorial it's going to be all 100% geometry nodes. So you might be wondering, why am I doing this video? Well, a viewer watched this old tutorial and they had some issues with rendering, because we know animation nodes can be a bit tricky sometimes when you render. Sometimes stuff doesn't look the same as it does in the viewport. Sometimes it crashes. Sometimes things start to flicker. But in their comment, they said that they're just gonna get rid of animation nodes because it's unreliable, and they're gonna do it in geometry nodes. So I thought, well, how would you do this in geometry nodes? And I started playing around, and it's possible. So I thought, well, maybe that's an interesting tutorial, and it's always good practice to play with geometry nodes. And there's so many new nodes. I haven't done a tutorial in a while, so this is a lot of things are very new for me too. Anyway, let's jump right in and let's do this. Alright, here I am in Blender 3.1 Alpha. You know I like to use the latest and the greatest. This is today's download. It is January 3rd today, 2022. Happy New Year. So let's do this. First of all, we're gonna need a Suzanne, right? So Shift A, Mesh, Suzanne, Monkey. It says Monkey, but her name is Suzanne. Control 2. Oh yeah, I have new screencast keys down here. I hope this works good. Shade Smooth. Now we have a Suzanne. Wonderful. Let's put her in the scene collection so that we have this. Now, first of all, we need to go to geometry nodes, because that's what it's all about. Create a new node tree, input, output. Okay, let's start over here. First of all, we need to create this build-up effect. And just like with the animation nodes tutorial, this is going to be a Boolean. And I'm going to show you an issue with the Boolean, with flickering, especially with Suzanne, because we're going to have that issue here too. And that comment that I showed you before, I replied that the flickering might actually be that issue. But let's see what it is. So Shift A, we're gonna create a cube and then a Boolean to keep the intersection and then animate the cube. Right, so we need a mesh primitive cube. Let's put that here. Then we need a Boolean. I'm just gonna mesh Boolean. It's a mesh Boolean operation. And we want to keep the intersection. So we have to set this to intersect, and then we plug in everything we want to keep. So now you can see this is my cube. Well, maybe first of all, where's my node? Let's look at the cube alone. So let's plug this in here. Let's make them bigger. Let's make them 3 by 3. And then I have to transform this cube. Here. Okay, I have to transform this cube down. And if we do this and I move the cube up, then we get this effect. Right, so this is the same as using a Boolean modifier that we've been using for many years now. But now we can do it in geometry nodes. So this is exactly what we're going to do. We have this Boolean object and we're going to animate it. Now let me move this up to where the eyeballs are. And you can see stuff starts flickering. We can see the cube, we can see Suzanne, sometimes we can see Suzanne without eyeballs, and that is because Suzanne isn't manifold mesh. I wish Suzanne were manifold mesh, but she isn't. So let's fix this. We go here. Oh, we can apply the subdivision, so maybe get a little bit better performance. Let's disable the geometry nodes quick, go into edit mode and fix this issue here. Really easy way is to just select the eyeballs, remove them completely. Yeah, you know what this is. This is supposed to be a quick tutorial. Let's fill this grid fill maybe. It looks like that. Yeah, it's fine. Whatever. Let's do this here too. Grid fill. Okay, it's interesting that they look different, but whatever. So now Suzanne is manifold, right? So those eyeball things they're separate islands in the mesh. and now they're gone, and it's all one object or one mesh, solid mesh, manifold mesh. And now if I re-enable this guy and I move, you can see we have no more flickering, and that's why I think that that viewer had that problem. Okay, so we already have the build-up effect. Awesome. We need to animate this though. This. So how about we get an input field for that, because we're gonna need it anyway. Input value. And then we need a vector here, so we have to go combine XYZ. We want to animate the C, plug that in here, and now we have this value here. Should be working. Yep. Okay. Awesome. So let's bring it right down there where we have nothing visible, and go to our first frame and set an iframe here because we can animate those values, right? And then let's go to the last frame, 250. Why not? Bring this up to where Suzanne is complete, which is right here. Okay. And then we have an animation. Oh, and also down here, press T, linear, so we don't have any easing. So it just goes up linear, and now we have this animation. Cool. Next thing we need locations on the surface, right? Some random positions on the surface where the laser beams should be hitting the surface. How do we do that? Well, I'm gonna do it the same way I did it with animation nodes. And that is, I'm gonna copy this and that. And I'm gonna create another cube. So maybe, let's see, maybe we need some join geometry here, back here, join geometry, and plug this cube in here as well so we can see it. This cube should only be like really thin. It should just be like a little plate. This is probably even still too much, 0.5. Okay. Now we're gonna take our Suzanne, this is Suzanne, and we need another mesh Boolean node, so let's copy that too. We take Suzanne, and we keep the intersection of Suzanne and that new very shallow plate. So where do I have to move that? Well, I have to move it exactly in the position where the surface, the top surface is of the other Boolean. And in order to do that, or to see it better, I'm gonna right away, I'm gonna start placing some points. So we're gonna do point distribute points on face. So now we have points instead of that plate thing. We can plug the points in here and look at this. Oh, this is already pretty good. Cool. So here we're moving that plate thing. Actually, I don't want to see the plate, so let's cut this. We just look at the points. So I want the points to be here somewhere. Maybe let me make this even thinner, because we really just need that slice on top. That's where we put the points. Okay, now of course we need to animate this cube that's not visible anymore up and down as well. So we need to combine X, Y, Z. How do we do this? We can take this guy and do vector math and shift that over with an add. And now I have to redo this. Where are the points? Add 0. Oh, have to plug this in here, of course. Okay, so let's place this again. This is just to move that second cube, right? First cube, cut away or keep the parts that we want visible. Second cube is just that slice on top. And with this add, now we're moving the slice to the correct position. So all we have is this one input here that is being animated, and this looks perfect. Okay, so these are the positions that we want the laser beams to hit the top of Suzanne. Awesome. Now, what do we need? Now we need laser beams. How do we make a laser beam? Well, we can just create a line. So we can do a curve line, curve primitive, curve line. Cool. Let's make this line very long, maybe 5 meters long. So this is just one line, and we're gonna distribute points, or we're gonna instance now onto the points these lines. Oh, there we go. Now we have lines. Okay. Now we can't see our points anymore. If we want to see them, we just plug them back in here. So we have the points visible, and we have those lines pointing straight up, and they're 5 meters long. Okay. And now the final thing is something that I've been playing around with a lot because I wanted to find a cool solution. Now, the first thing was I'm gonna tell you now all my failures, and because maybe you're thinking the same way. So I wanted to move, right? This is a curve now, a line, and it has a start point and an end point. I wanted to move the end points to a single, like, absolute point on the top there. All of those lines should be basically emitting the laser from that single point. So I thought, well, you're gonna need a transform node. And then I thought, well, but the transform node it doesn't have a selection input. I can't move just these because I can't select. Then I thought, well, maybe I can fake a selection by using, like a multiplier, figure out which points are the ones on the top, and then make an attribute, plug that attribute into here. But you can't plug an attribute into transform node. So I gave up on that idea, and I came up with the craziest idea of all, and I want to show you. Now, if you want to skip this part, just look at the chapters down below, because this is really a crazy idea, but it works. And then I'm going to show you the real solution. Well, there's always many ways to do things, but I just want to show you the craziest thing ever. So I thought, well, I have to somehow move those top points, right? So first of all, let's make those are just infinitely thin lines, curves basically, that have nothing in the viewport, so we can't assign a material to it. We need to make something like real physical geometry out of it first. We have those instances. In order to move stuff individually, we have to realize the instances. Realize instances. It's just a simple node. And then I want to make like little tubes out of them. And we can do that with a curve to mesh. Where is that node? Curve to mesh. So, okay, we need a profile curve. It's like an extrusion, right? So along the curve, we have a profile curve. We can take a circle or just a triangle or something. Let's take a curve primitive circle. Let's set it down to 3, so it's a triangle. Or you can do 4, whatever. Now they're huge, but you can see it's working. So we need to take those down to something really small. I don't know. How thick do we want our laser beams to be? Well, we need something in the viewport. Maybe let's just keep this. Looks fine. Okay. So now we have this. Cool. And now for the crazy part. First of all, let's figure out these points. We have to select these points. How do we do that? Well, here we have the geometry output, and what we're outputting here is a mesh. We're also outputting the point cloud. So let's get rid of the point cloud. Let's cut this. So we just have mesh. Okay. Onto this output mesh. Now we're backtracing here. We need the position of each vertex in our mesh. We take the position, we rip it apart into its components, X, Y, Z, and then we have C, and then we can take where is that? Math utility, if greater than, so if the C is greater than, let's go 4, which is like up here. So we're selecting those. Now we have a Boolean. this would be the Boolean that we want on the outside. So let's create a vertex group. Let's call it endpoints. Well, actually it's where the laser is emitting, but it's the end of the point, end of the curve. So let's call it endpoints. Okay, let's take this attribute, expose it here on the modifier, and plug that into our endpoints. And now I'm gonna take a weld modifier, limit it to just those endpoints, set to distance 5, and all our laser beams are converging at that point up there. And even in the animation, it still works. Okay, now it moves a little, and we can, there's, because the endpoint is the endpoint of the 5 meter long line, and of course it moves up and down with it. We can fix that in geometry nodes, but we're not going to do that now because have you ever seen a weld modifier with a distance of 5? I mean, this is, but that's how my brain thinks. Anyway, forget it. It works. You can see it works. But let me remove this. Let me actually remove this output here. Where is it? Group here. Let's get rid of this value. We don't need that. So what do we need? Well, we need to move these points, right? And really the only trick is to move a point. You don't use the transform node, because that just transforms the entire geometry. Translate, rotate, and scale. That's not the node you want. You want the set position node. And I don't know why I didn't think about this. Maybe because it was called something else when they first introduced the fields. It was something with attribute. I don't remember. Well, set points, and this is exactly right. What we want, right? So we can do this on the mesh back here. Should we do it on the mesh? Yeah, why not? So it's similar to that crazy weld modifier. Set position. Which ones, and here we go, we have a selection input. This is awesome. Again, we want the position. I don't know why I deleted this now, but we want the position. We want two vectors separate, x, y, z. Take the c into a math set to greater than, I don't know, what would 4, I think. The c greater than 4 is our selection. And where are we moving these points to? We can plug in an absolute position here. So we're gonna take a vector combine just to create a vector. 0, 0, 5, plug that in here, and there we go. Our points of the mesh. No, let me move this like that. Okay. Like this. Okay, so here we have the entire what is this? These are just the laser lines. Okay, and we take the geometry, the points that are up there, select those and move those to a new position, which is 0, 0, 5. Now all of the vertices, the ends of our, or the beginnings of our laser beams are in the correct position. And now there's really one thing left to do before you can render this out nicely, and that's of course materials. Let me just split this, set this to rendered view. I'm pretty sure I'm in cycles here. Let me also save quick. Okay, so we need a material for Suzanne. Let's give this Suzanne 2 materials. The first one is gonna be Suzanne. Let's make it an orangey plastic. Okay, we don't see any lights. Do we have the lights on? Yes. This is something I figured out. Sometimes with the new Blender, you just have to close this and open another 3D rendered view. Do we have lights now? I'm not sure. Lights, where are my lights here? So let's do fill, turn that up. Doesn't seem to be changing much. Okay. Well, let's continue here. Let's create a new material here. This is supposed to be an emission, red for laser. I don't know, it's very strong, 50. And now we can go in here in our geometry nodes. So this is Suzanne, or the part of Suzanne that's already 3D printed. That part we want to assign a material to, should be that one, I guess. No, material, this one, okay. And then I'll set material here for the lasers. Material 01. Why am I not naming this? Lasers and monkey. Okay, monkey lasers. Yeah, that will be it. Okay, now with the bloom effect in Eevee, you get a nice bloom. In Cycles, you can do this in the post processor. I don't think my lights are still working. Does this look like the lights are working? Let's see. Lights fill. Maybe this doesn't do anything. Okay, once again, let's close this, save the file, open it, go to rendered view. Ah, now we have lights. Yep. Cool, okay. So, oh, this is way up there. We want it down here, and then we can turn it down quite a bit so we have a nice side lighting here. This one is this one. Where's this one pointing? This is quite bright blue. Can't even see it. Doesn't matter. And this is our key light. Maybe take this down to get more of a contrast. Of course, also we would want to take our camera and maybe move it up a little so we can actually see the lasers hitting the surface while we're animating this. So this is our animation. Very cool. Why is this so slow? Cycles GPU. I have my system set to optics using, well, whatever. Oh yeah, and one thing also, those lights, the scene lights, you don't want shadows. They shouldn't cast shadows. You can see a laser beam doesn't cast shadows, right? So the light in your scene shouldn't cast that shadow for that laser beam. I mean, now if you switch them all off to not cast any shadows, of course we don't have any shadows now in the scene. Maybe there's another way to do this, but anyway, this is our 3D printing animation, all done in geometry nodes. This is the node 3, if you want to take a look. If you want to get that finished animation that I showed at the beginning, this one, then you can get the completed blend file from patreon.com/chrisp. Let me know in the comments down below. Did you watch the other tutorial, the old one? And which way of working do you like better? Do you like animation nodes or do you like geometry nodes? What about that crazy weld modifier idea? Anyway, that's it for this tutorial. I hope you liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing, activate the notification bell. Thanks for watching. Crispy out.